So that being said, let's jump into another kind of, or not another, but let's jump into a little bit more of a controversial topic, and that's women in SF.
Yeah.
So I talked about this on the channel, and I took the approach of my daughters, right, and looking at it, if they want to do SF, it would really bother me that they wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
But then I also know that when I was in, if you were to tell me that a woman was coming to the team, I would be lying to say that I would be uncomfortable with it. Yeah. So what's your take on?
Yeah. So again, there's reality, right, which is the space that we're in, right, reality, and there's what everyone thinks it should be. When it comes to, because I have a daughter, same concept. I want her to do whatever it is that she wants to be. I want her to do whatever she wants to do. I think we all want that for our kids. It's also our job as fathers to protect our kids. You and I both know the savages that were in the fucking team room.
Oh, yeah.
We used to be one of them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And I don't want them near my kid.
Exactly. So that's the perspective that I'm looking at it from, right? Like, I know how we were when we were in the actual teams. Like, I know what takes place in there. And it's not saying that a woman can't do the job, because they can, right? There's units out there that'll employ them in the right capacity. So they can definitely do the job, right? It's understanding, once you put a woman in that team room, what it's going to do to the team, what it's going to do to the team room dynamics. And I revert back to the early years when we had the CSTs, right? I don't know if you remember them, the combat support teams. That's where doing VSO, they would take a team of females, a captain and a lower enlisted, and they would attach them to a special forces team downrange, and their job was to search females on the objective. But during the 6, 8, even 10 months that the team was, out, those females would live with the teams, right? And dude, like, I've heard horror stories, I've experienced horror stories of teams just imploding, right? You had Team Sergeant doing extracurricular activities with one female while the 18 Bravo was doing the same. Now the Team Sergeant and the 18 Bravo, they're fighting. Guys are gonna be guys, right? Let's get that. Let's get that out of the way.
Yep.
I understand the comments is gonna say, "Hey, well, females this, or guys should be professional this." Check it out, man. Like, again, we live in reality. Guys are gonna be guys. Females are gonna be females. Guys are wired a certain way. Females are wired a certain way. Let's get that shit out the way, right? So it's not to say that they can't do the job. I think that we need to look at it from a reality perspective as far as what it's gonna do to that team room, right? And I'm also a big believer in, hey, before you actually try to run a social experiment in the military, let's test it out in a space that's less, or that's more forgiving, right?
Right.
Because I did a lot of research on this, because on my YouTube channel I have females reaching out wanting me to answer questions, and I tell them the truth. Like, hey, yes, you can do it. Dude, that's like me saying, hey, just because I'm a man, I could beat Ronda Rousey, right? Like, she's probably going to beat my ass, right? So I know they can do a job, but whether they want to and whether they want to deal with that stuff is a different issue. So if you're going to run that experiment, instead of having WNBA and the NBA, just have the NBA and integrate there and see how that works out, right? Because that's less forgiving. Try the NFL. Let's integrate there, because that's less forgiving, right? Because that's sport at the highest level. But then you have special operations, sports at the highest level there, where if you lose, you don't come back home, right? So let's try it there, see how that works, right? Because now you have super elite dudes competing with super elite females, right? Kind of like in special operation, where you have a bunch of super elite dudes. Now, if you want to put a bunch of super elite females there and see how that works out, I don't think that's a space to do it. Because if something goes wrong there, people are fucking dying. As opposed to if something goes wrong over here, then you lose a game, you go back, home and you're pissed off, whatever. That's more forgiving. Maybe try it there first and see if that works out before you, go into special operation and make it happen there.
You mentioned a good point when it comes to advising them on, yes, you can do it, but do you want to? And really, that's the approach we take with everyone who wants to go SF. Is like, sure, you can sign up for 18X right now. There's so many guys out there that can sign up right now for 18X. And it's our job as kind of like the first line of SF guys, because we really are the first line.
Yeah,
we're
where would they see?
You come
first.
to us before you go to the recruiter.
Yeah.
So we're your first level of information before you're getting to your recruiter. They're devouring your channel. They're devouring the views of my channel to learn as much as they can. So we need to be honest with all of them about, just because you can go do this doesn't mean you should, or doesn't mean that you want to, or that you will be happy doing it. So I think you're doing a service by saying, okay, this may not be the answer you want to hear, but understand that I'm not trying to say that I don't want you there. I'm trying to understand that maybe you don't want to be there.
Correct.
And this is the reasons why. And you need to have that in your head, because maybe that individual, that particular woman is the kind that doesn't deal with men hitting on her. She doesn't worry about that. Maybe the way that she carries herself is not the type that is going to have that issue. So then it's a case by case basis. But for a lot of women that think potentially they'll be coming into an environment where it's all bros and hugging, is going to realize that this is like you could potentially be throwing meat into a den of wolves. You know, it's like, in that it makes SF guys kind of sound barbaric, but like you said, it's just men who are overseas for long periods of time, bored, lonely. Sometimes there's alcohol involved. It could just potentially be a really bad situation. And would I want my daughter in that situation? Absolutely not.
No. And again, it's expectation management. Like, I want the public to understand the type of men that serves in special operation. Nothing about us is normal. That's the type of person it takes to do the work that we do. And I've seen it for the past 15 years. Like, nothing about that job is normal, which is why we get spit out on the back end so fucked up. It is what it is. That's the reality of it. That's what we signed up for. Like, nothing about that job, nothing about being in that space is normal. Right? The shit that we see, the shit that we have to do, like, nothing about it is normal. And I think that's a perspective that the policymakers, that the civilian folks are missing when they, hear these comments and they get all wild up. Like, bro, you see Buck and I sitting here talking like civilized people, but you don't see our teammates that's sitting in his living room playing Russian roulette with a fucking revolver.
Yeah, I just lost another guy from my company a couple weeks ago.
Dude, you don't see that, right? As a first sergeant, like, I'm standing out there with a dude who's freaking staring out a freaking pistol from a cop that's about to shoot him, because this dude is so messed up. He thought he was back at SEER, and he's Ian, and he's got a pistol drawn on him, and I'm having to talk the cop down from shooting him. Like, that's what war does to these individuals, right? Those are the type of folks that we're having to deal with. Now, imagine having your little girl in that mix.
Right.
Like, dude, like, I don't want that for my little girl. No, I don't want that. And if, again, when they reach out, I'm not telling that they can't do it. I'm just painting the picture. I'm just setting expectations.
Which, that's what we're here to do.
That's all we're here to do, man. Because at the end of the day, I'm giving them the right tools to go execute whatever it is that they want to execute.
Yeah, because they'll take your advice and still do it.
Yeah, I just want them to know, like, what it's going to look like.
Right. Now they're more prepared. They'll be like, oh, this guy, this is coming in hot. This is getting weird. Jay already told me about this. I'm going to pull myself out of the situation.
Because dudes are weird, man. I love you guys, but it is what it is.
It's usually the deltas, too, that are really...
it is what it is, right? I just want to make sure, like, this next generation is as prepared as they can be, women and females.